want to introduce Kristin Frazer. She is the design director at Truffle Incorporated, and she comes from a history of a family that was very creative and innovative, and we're just so delighted to have her with us. She's very busy, so awesome to have her here. She started really sharing her designs. I'm sure she was designing even when she was a wee one, but she started sharing them in 2008, and Truffle has gone on to make a mark internationally, both with her fashion line and her swimsuits, and she keeps the fashion world on its toes. She's had some super interesting collaborations. So she has worked with Otterbox, and she's had a collaboration with Necker Island, and she's starting to take the home decor world by storm as well. So welcome, Kristin. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm definitely happy to be here. Super excited to be here. Thanks again.
Awesome. So glad to have you. I, of course, knew you when I lived in the BVI and just always found you such a warm, kind, inspiring person. So when I thought about doing this, resilient series, talking about coping and all that, I really had you in mind as a professional woman who has launched an amazing business. And I wondered if you could maybe start with talking a little bit about how it's been for you working through adversity in the last couple of years, knowing that there's been some significant things to work through. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, there's been plenty of bumps, lots of speed bumps, but I think, of course, the main one started with Hurricane Irma, and then backed with Maria, so Maria,
Yeah.
and then coming into COVID. It's just been a wave of speed bumps that came my way in having my business for over the past pretty much going on 12 years now. And over the course of the years, I've found that all my experiences, all of the journeys, all of the different collections in me designing my swimwear, resort wear, collaborations, any kind of engagement with celebrities or opportunities, all of that still didn't really prepare me for where I am now. Interestingly enough, I mean, I would say that because it, of course, helped, working with buyers, working with, even as far as my mentees from my mentorship program, getting the support from the local community, and overall just working in the business plan year in and year out. Nothing could really prepare you for the now, and my now is COVID. And I bounced back a bit after Hurricanes Irma and Maria, just due to the fact that I had no choice but to make things work.
Right.
I wasn't in a very bad place because I had already built so many resources over the course of the years. So that kind of helped me gain my footing a little bit. But it also helped me to really push my creative juices and my marketing skills to an all-time high. And so that's, that really, I think with everything that I did over the course of 2017 to now, I think it's kind of really propelled me to do more, be better at what I do, and really try to create this secure fence around me so that, should anything happen now in the near future, I would be a little bit more prepared to be able to handle, whatever it is, whether it's through finances, whether it's, I have a little mini capsule collection on the back end that I can put out, whether it's another collaboration that I would have in the works, which I do have in the works, my second licensing agreement deal that I have coming out very soon, and just being a little bit more prepared so that I could really come out on top a lot more, and so that I could continue to be that inspiration for the young people in the BVI and continue to be an inspiration worldwide for other Caribbean designers, and just designers on a whole all over the world. My story is a very interesting one, and I always smile because I could never imagine that I would be where I am today, and even speaking to you, Kelly. So my story is interesting. That's all I could say.
Yeah, and inspiring, right? Like, I think if you don't
Yes.
have a story sometimes, or if everything came easy and you just decided to be a fashion designer one day and everything worked out and you never had to pivot or change, then, you might not be as relatable. And I think probably what works really well in your mentoring program is having that story so that people can
Yes.
see a little bit of themselves or their struggles in what you share with the world. So that's fantastic. So I just mentioned the word pivot. It's been a bit of a COVID rally cry, like with the people to say pivot, and it's been, kind of a funny thing and in memes. And I just wondered, how has that concept been important for you as a business owner during these uncertain times? Like the word pivot, does it mean something to you?
It's a strong word. It's a
Yeah.
strong word. I don't use it as much because I found that how I pace myself and how I try to set up my business with all the different areas of the business, it's kind of helped things to go a little bit smoother. If you know what I mean. So in 2008, when I started with Truffle, I really just focused on women's swim. And then I jumped into the women's resort. And then I jumped into kids swim, Truffle 284. And then I jumped into doing men's swim and men's resort. And then I jumped into Truffle home. And so over the course of the pretty much was 12 years now, August will be 12 years. I've always been introducing, according to my business plan from the beginning, little labels, as far as the bigger picture of Truffle Incorporated and what I wanted that brand to look like. So it's the word pivot is a strong word for a lot of people, but it's a little bit more easy for me because now I might not be selling as much swimsuits, but my home line is taking off because people have been home and they're looking around and seeing how they can revamp and restyle. And they're like, you know what? Wall needs some wallpaper, or my couch looks very drab. I think a pop of print and a travel print would be amazing. And so projects under the home line has been working way more for me than me selling swim, right now. So I have the different labels to which I can turn to based on the situation or or what's happening in the now for me. And with me launching my Truffle Active line, which is another label that's going to come out later.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is that speaks to, of course, you being more healthy, more fit. If you want to do yoga, you just need to exercise and just get yourself out there. Why not feel comfortable doing it in Truffle Active? And so that line is going to drop really soon. And so I wanted to be able to create the different avenues that I could work in. And utilize my designs, utilize my creativity, and of course, utilize the original print concepts to tell a holistic story. So pivot is a big word for a lot of people, but it's an okay word for me because I've learned to balance it all and just adopt.
It might have been too, like you've had some significant things that a lot of people had COVID to deal with in the last couple of years, but not necessarily a huge hurricane, absolutely, devastating where you live. So for other people, this might be the first really big shift. And for you, you've had to already work through that a little bit. Yes. I was going to ask you, like, has crisis equaled opportunity through all this somehow?
Of course. And I am very big on whether the opportunity is right there in my face,
right,
or whether I decide, okay, this is a time where I'm going to create an opportunity. Yes. I do that a lot more than anything else, really. And so I have a special project that I'm working on now with a resort. I can't say the name right now, but I created that opportunity that I wanted to see for myself. And, a few months later, opportunity is there, and so this is not something that they had in mind. This is not something that I per se had in mind either, but I went all out and I created the story. I created the documents, the presentations, and I worked my way around how I can see the collaboration or working with Truffle, how that could be in terms of when we open back up, once the whole pandemic subsides and tourists start coming back in, how Truffle could be influential in their story. And so they never knew until I created the window of opportunity. So, and I remember an interview I did past, and I told the lady, I build the door, I get the wood, I build the door, I put it all up, and then I paint it really colorful, and then I knock on the door. And then when I open it, that's what it is. That's what I said to her in a joking way, but in a serious way, it makes sense. And so I create the opportunity that I want to see. And that's now created another avenue of revenue for me that I would have never thought about 4 years ago. So COVID and people being home, they really, for us when we were home, you could either go on the internet and just browse and watch Netflix all day. You could really try to strategize and see
Yeah.
how you can impact the world, or how you can impact your business more with having to pivot, or with having to shift. And for
Yeah.
me, I had to look at my business. I had to look at my mentorship program, because my mentees are a big source of inspiration for me. I had to look at all the different labels that I have, the businesses that I have with people worldwide, my factories, how everything would have affected me. And I really had to make a change and create opportunity. And I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. And great how you're able to kind of be aware of what your customers might be looking for and what might be another place that you could meet their needs, right? So that's fantastic. And what you're saying brings to mind a lot. I think the quote is something like, opportunity looks a lot like hard work, or success. I can't remember one of them, but I think you probably agree with that. This isn't just things that just keep falling in your lap. You are hustling, you are working,
Correct.
you are getting out there, you're having conversations, you're doing plans, you are strategizing. And I think that's fantastic. And
I'm
probably
a
something you teach your
person.
mentees. Sorry, what were we going to say?
Oh, yes. I'm a visual person.
Yes.
So, wherever I go, and I get my inspiration pretty much from anywhere, but of course, mainly from the BVI, and wherever I go, it's just automatic for me. If you're a creative, if you're passionate about whichever design field you're in, or whatever artistic field you're in, it's going to be automatic. If you're super passionate about what you do and what you love. And so for me, it's automatic for me to be, I can go on a day sail, Kelly, and I'm supposed to be relaxing. I can guarantee you, I'm going
Yeah.
to go snorkeling. I'm
Yeah.
going to see something, and I'm going to come right back up. I'm going to put it in my phone or sketch something down real quick, because that's just how it is,
Yeah.
so it's organic.
But I love it because it doesn't sound like it's draining to you, but rather energizing. I think sometimes
It
our
is.
work is draining and then we have to be careful to shut it off. But if it's energizing and you're meeting and finding inspiration in those downtimes, yeah, as a therapist, I can approve that. You can have
Yeah,
that.
I'll settle for that. I do admit sometimes it could be a bit much, and I do have to take a
Yeah.
step back and say, okay, Kristin,
Yeah.
just take a minute, breathe, get a little nap, but for the most part, I love what I do, and I don't need to be, a millionaire or a billionaire. I literally wholeheartedly love what I do. And if I can put a smile on someone's face and they can feel confident, comfortable wearing my product or seeing my product somewhere, or if it's an otter case, which a friend of mine in the Bahamas sent me a message and said, just what I got, my otter box case, and he's in the Bahamas, and
Yeah.
that's still, that's
Lovely.
enough for me to continue.
And it's like these connections, right? With your people, your friends, your fans from around the world. Amazing. It's probably really fun to see that. I was thinking about the word perseverance and what you might tell other entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs, or what you already tell those you mentor. Like, what would you say about persevering during uncertain, difficult times?
Well, I think for me in the BVI, I've had to go through it quite a few times. I've had to go through it with the flood, actually. I didn't mention that. The
Yes,
flood
that's
that
right.
happened before Irma, and then Maria, and now COVID. I've had to really hug that word and hold it very, very tight, because for me, persevering and doing what I do, I might absolutely love what I do, but at the end of the day, I'm human. And so for those people that, want that word of encouragement, to understand that they must persevere in the good and the bad times, they need to really go back to their first found love, and why. They need to go back to their why. Why are they doing this? Why did they fall in love with this particular thing in the first place? What sets them aside from anyone else because of what they're into? For me, I stood out on my porch after Hurricane Irma with no rails, no nothing. I just stood out and I looked out in the ocean, because I have pretty much like a 180 view of all the islands. And I looked out and I said, this is pretty much it. I feel like this is it. But in this has to come something better, has to. And I didn't stay down for long. I didn't stay sad for long, because I went back to why it is I do what I do. And I thought about, again, my mentees. I can't stop because they're looking at me. I thought about all of the obstacles, but all of the wins that came from the obstacles. I remember, all of the times, even just reaching out to Otterbox. It was literally here in my office late at night. I sent an email to the founder of Otterbox and pitched myself in an email. It wasn't a PowerPoint presentation. It wasn't a PDF. It was in the body of the email. I said how I could be influential. This is what it is I want to do. And then almost about 6 months later, we have a whole collaboration, and I'm in over 2,200 stores, and that's just in 6 months, just from me sending an email, so I thought about all the reasons why I do what I do and the results that came from that, and how much more I can do because of the situation. So I tried my best not to look at the negative, but I tried to look at the positive that could come out. And I, started speaking more positive. I started, making sure that I kept myself around people that were just as positive, if not more positive, so that I also can get inspired and encouraged. And I just pretty much prayed and just had a lot of faith that, I could keep going no matter what, even with COVID. I was running from making masks. I really was. But, when people started asking me, is Treffle making masks? I said, well, Treffle will now be making masks. I can tell you, Treffle making masks has helped to really keep my business afloat, let me tell you, because I couldn't believe the unwavering response of people that wanted to have beautiful prints on their faces made out of course, organic cotton. So, it's a thing, and
it's now a thing. Who knew? Yeah, amazing.
So, you just got to figure out exactly what your why is, why you do what you do, if you're still passionate about what it is that you're doing and what you're into. And if you are, then that's all that you need. That's all that you need.
Yeah, it sounds like your faith has been a big part of that, and helping you get through this. And also too, you mentioned like just being really careful with your words, and words can be really powerful, right? So if we start our day off with like, this is going to be the worst day ever, we can probably make that happen pretty easily.
So, correct. I believe in speaking things into existence, because that's just what it is. If I moped around every day and I said, oh, I didn't get any sales this week, I'm probably not going to get any sales next week, then you probably will not get any sales next week. But if you speak positive and say, okay, this is the week that I'm going to focus on, I will get sales. This is going to be a great week, no matter what comes, this is going to be a great week, and you stay positive, then things align, and you get what you ask for, pretty much.
Absolutely. Kristin, always such a pleasure. I wish that this was in person over tea, but glad to being able to connect with you. Just so inspiring. And I know everyone watching is just going to take so much out of this. So thank you so much for sharing your heart and your own inspiration. I think that's really helpful. So thanks again.
No problem, Kelly. Such a pleasure. We have to do it again.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Take care.